Hello, this video is going to be about the annotations and which include trend lines and text boxes and actually Fibonacci retracement, things that you can put on the chart. And it's pretty neat what's in Chartsmart because you can actually screen out stocks that have crossed their trend lines, and I'm going to show you how to do that. We had a previous video, but we're replacing it with this new one partly because we've gone through the menu and we've done a lot of changes. And I'll go up here to Tools, and you can see there is our annotation and annotations and menu. Okay, so you can see that there's four options here. We got the standard trend line, standard text box, and the Fibonacci retracement and fan, and that's just there. We put that a long time ago for people who use that feature, that they're interested in that. I'm not going to discuss those at this time. I'm just going to do the top two. Okay, and the main idea with this video is to really show the screening capability of the trend lines. We've had a number of our users used to use chart books many years ago, because Chartsmart used to actually we took over a company that was going to stop doing the red and the blue and a green book that were for the mining and industrial in Canada, and they were the first ones doing charts. They had a brokerage firm, and a person would actually sit at a desk and draw these charts and add lines and then make a book out of them, and then people would use them. And then things have unfolded to the way they are now. So the reason why I bring up the chart books is because a lot of people do trend lines on the charts. And one of the neat things about Chartsmart is, yes, you can draw trend lines, but you can also screen out the stocks at the end of the day that have crossed your trend lines. And that's something I don't think you'll find anywhere in any other software tools, even today. So let's take a look at this. I'm going to go back here, and we're looking at a chart of BMO. So let's first look at putting a trend line on here. Maybe we'll I'm not saying what's right or wrong, but let's do what some people might do, which is put a support level line in. So we'll add a trend line, but before I do it, I want you to see that we can change the width of the line here, and we can also change the color. And there's a little box on the end of the line too, and I'm just gonna go with what, so you can see there's the red, and you see these little black or gray little squares. We can drag them over, and when we move them, they do leave a little mark on the screen, but that gets refreshed when you press the day button when you refresh the chart. So what I'm thinking here is, okay, so we put this trend line and we're looking for stocks that break below trend lines. We say, okay, well, there's the support level. We want to know when this drops below this support level. So we can go across to here, and we can leave that trend line there, and we could even make a note, and we could say, okay, well, I'm going to add a note, but what I'm going to do is make that little gray square a little bigger here, so it's a little easier to drag. So I'll go up to 10, and you'll see when we do this, there's the square. It's a little bigger now, okay? And we're going to go over here and drag this. You see on the left there's a white area you see whenever we move this, but if I just press daily day chart or refresh the chart, it's gone. It's a small thing we can fix. It's not really affecting the performance in any way. So I could type in here waiting for BMO to drop below the trend line. Okay. So you can imagine, I mean, I've looked at what some of the people have done, some of the subscribers, and it's amazing the amount of work. I mean, there's virtually hundreds or even 1,000 trend lines they put on charts, and you can imagine it gets kind of hard to manage that. So what you can do in Chartsmart is you can go to Tools again, to that same menu, and down here you can go View Charts of Stocks with Annotations. So that includes all four types here. So let's click that and see what happens. So if we go yes, it gives us a little summary, and I actually went in here and I put a couple other trend lines on as well. So I've got none of the Fibonacci ones on, but you can see I've got 4 trend lines, and that's on 4 security symbols and 2 text boxes, of which you see 1 text box and 1 trend line. So what happens then is if I go out of here and I go back to group, those 4 companies are in here, and if I want I can scroll through them. Okay, and let's go through them. Okay, so there's one that I did before. That's the second text box, and there's a trend line, and you can see the little red close is actually not below the trend line. Okay, so that's not there. And here's the BMO that we did. And by the way, as each day unfolds, these annotations stay on the charts. So what would happen is the chart would go to the right, and these annotations would sort of stay and they would go to the left, I guess. Let's go to the next 2. Okay, so here's one, IBM, and let's say I had put that trend line in and it actually crossed. Okay, and we'll do one more, and this is Microsoft, and it has not crossed. Okay, let's actually play with this, and we'll say, oh, okay, well, we put this in here, and we'll just say, okay, if it had gone below there. Okay, so then I'm just going to refresh that, and so I'm hoping it'll go below that line, let's say. Now the next step is oh, by the way, if you want to remove a trend line, you just right click on the box or any annotation. Okay, but we're not going to remove it. And also the annotations don't work on the semi-log charts at this time. We might be able to do it later because they require different, more complicated calculations for putting the lines on the charts and the other annotations. So let's go in here, and we've kind of covered putting on the annotations. Let's put a different color on. Well, what'll happen is if I change the color, all of the lines will change when they refresh. So so any setting we change is a global setting. For example, if I change the color, let's change it to, I don't know, let's try a dark green here. Okay, so we'll close, and even if we just go to the date, oh, that didn't change. So let's see. It's been a while since I used this, so let's take a new one, and let's take GM, and let's add an annotation here. Okay, and we're gonna, why don't we make it an extra wide line too. Okay, there we go. So there, we'll put this here, and in this case what we're doing is we're looking for stocks that drop below the uptrending lines. You could do the reverse. If you could say you want them to go above ascending lines. So let's go back to our whoops, sorry, I'm going to go back to annotations and trend lines. Let's go view the charts, and we've got GM in here. You can see there's 5 trend lines now, which is exactly right. And let's go group, and we'll just quickly go through those. So there's the stuff we've done. Okay, and yeah, so the color and the width of the line are specific to the specific stock that you are looking at, which is kind of nice. So okay, let's get into the real detail here. Let's go down to as I mentioned, you could look for ones going above descending lines, okay, but we're looking for ones that break below ascending lines, and in all the cases these were ascending. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this and screen them out. Okay, so let's do this, and we get 1 out of 5. Okay, so let's go into the group, and it automatically put it there, and it was IBM. Okay, so that's the only one that's crossed below. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back to all of them. Whoop. Let's go back to the annotations menu, go view stock chart, view them all, and we'll go back to groups so we can see them all. Okay, so there's Barrick, and what I'm going to do here is pretend that this is 3 days from now or something or whatever, and this actually went below. Okay, and I'm going to do that with Bank of Montreal too. Okay, so this is as if maybe this happened in 2 days from now, and we're just checking on our companies. And let's do one more. Okay, so you can see more of them crossed below. So we've kind of said, okay, only one crossed on 2 days ago, but now we're 3 days later after getting out of our time machine, and this is the way it looks. And so at the end of the day, after your daily update, we can go in here and we can go annotations and trend lines and say, I want to check if any went through. So we can go ahead and do that, and you can see now 4 of them have crossed through the trend lines out of the 5, and you know exactly which ones because we went through them. So if we go out of here, we can actually scroll through those ones where they all went below. So I think that's a pretty amazing feature for anybody who uses trend lines a lot, because it's pretty hard to monitor when you're looking at 200 companies, and if you tend to use trend lines and you want to know when companies cross them, this is a pretty amazing tool. And what you could do is, if on any day you wanted to save that list of 4 companies, I believe, let's go in here into ZWatch, and you can import the last filter list to your watch lists. So you could say, I'm going to make a new watch list, and these are crossed trend line today, descending. Okay, so we'll add that, and what we can do is import the last filter list, which we know was those 4 symbols, and we can give it a name, in the ZWatch. So we'll say descending trend lines. I think I did something wrong here, but let's just see what we got. Okay. Actually, I'm going to redo this and say descending crossovers. Okay, so there we go. It's imported, and what I did is I added a watch list which was not required. That was my mistake. I'll just delete that one. And the one that we actually imported is this one, and that's the 4 companies. So tomorrow we could look at those and compare that to maybe if we reran that list and we found, let's say we had 200 trend lines and we had 100 of them tomorrow, and this one was only 82. We could have 2 watch lists, and actually there's a way that you can compare watch lists. So we could actually go in here, and you would be able to see the watch lists in here and compare them so that you could see which stocks were new that crossed through trend lines. So I know that's a bit that's a pretty extreme feature, but it sort of just goes to, it kind of goes to show how Chartsmart allows you to manage and move things around, and so it's not just a screening tool or a charting tool, it's a general management tool, and that's why the ZWatch is so important. And I've seen people who have 300-400 different watch lists, and to manage them and compare them and to work with them, you need these kind of features like comparing for watch lists. And what that compare watch list does is, for example, you could take 5 watch lists and you could say, okay, these were all generated from a different way of filtering, but I want to know which stocks are common to all 5 lists. And then what you can do with that feature is you can actually create a new watch list that has all of them. And similarly, you could find what's common to all of them, but you could also do it so that you took all 5 watch lists and you said you don't necessarily want to see what's common, you just want a list that has all of them in. So if there's some duplicated in each list, you can out of the 5 lists, you can see all the individual stocks and put them in one list. So the reason why I bring that up is just the idea that Chartsmart is really an excellent organizer and management tool. So I'm going to end the video at that, and I hope it's been helpful. Thank you.